I'm Sari.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio. Welcome back to Seamwork Radio, where we share practical ideas for building a creative process so you can sew with intention and joy. Today, we're taking a look back at our summer sewing and sharing the lessons we've learned along the way. We're going to cover what worked well for us this season, what we do differently next time, and how these insights are already shaping our approach to fall sewing planning. All right, Haley, our icebreaker for today. What was your favorite non-sewing creative project this summer?
I mean, it's kind of sewing adjacent.
Yeah.
But I've been working on organizing my sewing room and my stash a little bit and really aggressively culling things.
Do you have a method or you just kind of getting rid of stuff?
It's just like a vibe. It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a little bit, I feel like sometimes I go in these phases with methods where I go really hard on a method and then I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
I'm in a figure it out as you go stage of my life right now, and I'm trying to embrace it a little bit more.
Yeah.
My type A-ness is really thanking me. But to balance all the organization, which I love, that's fun for me. That's creative, right? I've also just been doing little fun home projects too, like replacing curtains and rearranging and that kind of thing.
Yeah. You think of that stuff as being kind of like fall, winter nesting, but I really like doing it in the summer.
Me too, because then my nest is prepared.
Yeah.
In the fall and winter. When you see squirrels getting ready, I guess that's in the early fall that you see them doing that, but they're not nesting. The nest is done in the winter.
Yeah.
I want my nest to be done.
That's true. That's very true. I've been thinking about that too, because I've been working on a lot of home projects as well. And I don't know why, but in summer, I just feel like feathering the nest.
Yeah, I think too, where we live, it's so cloudy. I get into this cleaning mode when the sun comes out in the summertime because I can see all the dust.
Yeah, you see the dust.
And then I see all the other things. And it really has this snowball effect.
Yeah. You think of fall and winter and spring too as being dirty here because it's so rainy and it gets so muddy. But I've just found that in the summer, our dogs track in so much dirt and grass seeds. They get so many grass seeds stuck to them. I have a funny story. We took Gordy in for a grooming this weekend. So our neighbor does professional dog grooming. She's got a whole setup.
Perfect.
It's great. And we barter for it, which is awesome. But anyway, I took Gordy in for a grooming. So you guys don't know Gordy, listeners don't know Gordy, but he is the happiest, most boisterous little dog. And he's an Australian Shepherd, so he's very fluffy. And so we took him in. He was a complete mess. He was so dirty and had so much debris stuck to him from frolicking in the summer grasses. And so we took him in and got him all beautifully groomed and everything. And I went to go pick him up. And I opened the door and he runs outside and he's sniffing all around. And I'm talking to my neighbor and we hear splash. And he had jumped in the koi pond. She had a little koi pond. And he just jumped in the koi pond, was swimming around. He loves swimming. And I was like, oh no. Gordy.
Koi debris incoming.
And she's like, come back in another 45 minutes and I'm going to bathe him and blow dry him again so he doesn't smell like fish.
Were the koi okay?
The koi were okay, thank goodness. Yeah. He was just splashing around. He loves water. He's crazy. Anyway, all that to say that summer can be a dirty time too.
That's true. So true. My kids also do, They've never jumped in a koi pond, but, we've had similar things
Not
happen.
That they wouldn't, but they haven't yet.
They haven't really had the opportunity, to be fair. What about you? What's your favorite non-sewing creative projects this summer?
This summer, I'm working on kind of doing a mini renovation in my home office.
Ooh.
So I'm in the process of it still, but I've just been feeling like my office is not conducive to creativity in the way that I want to. So I have my sewing shed and that's out in the backyard. And I feel so good whenever I go in my sewing shed. It's just so lovely and peaceful in there. And I wanted to have the same feeling in my office where I spend most of my day, really, most of my working day. And it's a beautiful room. It's a great room. But I have this cheap IKEA table that I was using for a desk and like a cheap IKEA file cabinet in there.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that were kind of damaged by Lucy when she was a puppy that I haven't fixed yet. And there's a lot going on in there that needs attention. So I've kind of been making it into a project instead of just doing little bits here and there.
Uh-huh.
And that feels really good. It's really fun to kind of do a complete renovation. So I got this great table on Facebook Marketplace for like $300. Is huge table that I'm using. It's my mega desk now. And I have room to spread out all my stuff. And it just feels so much nicer when I go in there now. And it doesn't feel like it's kind of a makeshift room anymore.
Uh-huh.
So I've just really been thinking about how your space, your environment fosters creative feelings and what a huge impact it has. I think sometimes, I don't know, I can neglect certain environmental things in my life because they become so part of the background, you just kind of forget about them. So it's been really fun. I'm enjoying it.
I think that's especially common in like spaces that we define as utility spaces, like a kitchen or like an office where you're like, I'm in here to do a specific task. It's not, I think those spaces for me at least are easier to neglect. Whereas my like living room, my dining room, my bedroom, those feel like their purpose is pleasure.
Yeah.
And enjoyment. So I tend to like put my energy into those, and my utility spaces are like my creative places. Why am I not putting energy into those?
Yeah, that's very true. They can also be, well, at least for kitchens, bathrooms, things like that, they can be very expensive to
that's
fix
true.
up.
That's true. But there's so much we can do that's just like little things. Hang a shelf.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of things I'm excited about around the home. So I'm hoping that continues into the fall.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's talk about summer. I think summer can be such a different time for sewing compared to the rest of the year, at least for me. I think the warmer months just kind of always bring a shift in both what I want to make and then how I also approach my sewing practice, like we've been talking about. So this summer, I found myself really just wanting to slow down and be a lot more intentional about what I was creating rather than just cranking out project after project. And I think there's just something about the longer days and the warmer weather that makes me want to savor the process a bit more. So I also learned some things about my planning that I want to carry forward into fall and winter sewing. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Haley, how is your summer sewing different from your usual routine?
I think that in summer, my sewing takes a little bit more of a backseat. There's definitely been summers where there's just like no sewing happening. End of last April, I had a baby, so there was like no sewing in sight last summer. But this summer, I'm trying to like find that balance of allowing it to take a backseat while not neglecting it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big shift for summer and just kind of like embracing it, not trying to make it something that it's not.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I think for me, this summer, I really went into it knowing that I didn't want to spend a lot of time on my sewing this summer. There's just so much to do in summer.
Yeah.
And not just, there's a lot of fun things to do, being outside. There's I find there's a lot of social commitments, family things going on. In my family, there's a lot of birthdays in the summer. So there's just a lot happening. And I also have a few big projects I'm working on. So I didn't want to overburden myself. And I never want sewing to feel like a chore or something that I'm supposed to be doing, or I don't want to feel guilty. Even if it's something I want to do, I tend to guilt myself even about things that I want to do. So I didn't want to overplan and have too much on my plate. So that's something I really endeavored to kind of plan into my sewing practice this summer. And I think it worked out pretty well. I think I picked the right number of projects to still make it feasible for me. So
good on you. How do you find that your sewing goals shifted during the summer months?
I think just having fewer of them. I planned only 3 major wardrobe projects, and then I was going to make an accessory. And I did all of that. And I think just kind of lowering the expectation about how much I would get done was really, really important to me. Again, I wanted to focus on some things around the house as well. So it was fun to have some time for that too. Yeah. What about you?
Kind of similar. just doing less. I think that goal-wise, I made an intentional choice to not have like a project queue like I normally would. I kind of do and I kind of don't. Instead, what I did was I created some like prompts for myself to sew to. So it gave me like something to aim for, but it was allowed me more choice in the moment, which I'm finding more motivating in this particular season. Like I said, I'm kind of like in a flying by the seat of my pants zone right now, and I'm trying to embrace it. So I gave myself a couple prompts. One of them was to find the perfect summer dress. So I've sewn what I think is the Willow dress by Cinnamon Daisy, which I like. And then I just printed out another one, and I'm just trying to like take it as an experiment more. And then I gave myself like a even looser prompt of like things I could sew in like an hour and a half that are just really fun. So it's been like little elastic shorts for my girls, tote bags, scrunchies, that kind of thing.
Those are fun to incorporate.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's nice just to like give myself the goal of like this week I'm going to sew something. It doesn't have to be special. It can just be like for fun. It can be a little like gift to give someone that I'm having a coffee date with or whatever.
Yeah, it's a great time to get started on your holiday gifts too.
You know, that would be really smart.
It would be smart. I haven't done it, but
I didn't say I was being real smart about it.
Yeah, in theory.
I always say I'm going to do that. What kind of projects felt most appealing to you when the weather warmed up a bit?
Really short projects have been really appealing to me, really quick things. So I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, I'm working on this quilt for the whole year where I do one block each month. And just going into the shed for an hour or two to work on a quilt block has been really fun. And it's really getting me into quilting. It's just very relaxing. I really like playing with the fabric and kind of figuring out, okay, which fabrics am I going to use for this block? Because I have a whole bunch of scraps I'm choosing from.
Yeah.
And, you know, what goes with the other blocks, especially because it's a sampler quilt. So every block is different. I'm using all kinds of fabrics. It's really just fun to play. It's like painting with fabric. It's been very, very fun. And I love how quick it is. And I don't have to worry about fit or anything like that. So that's been really, really fun. So I'd like to do more of that actually and do more kind of maybe quilted accessories and things like that in the fall.
Fun.
I think that would be really, really fun.
I've also been gravitating towards like the quicker, easier things. For my summer dress, one of the criteria was pullover. Less about ease of sewing and more about ease of wearing.
Yeah.
But I just want things to feel simple. Simple things. And simple doesn't always mean like easy to sew, but not fussy.
Yeah.
Do you think differently about your fabric choices in summer versus like other seasons?
I think I'm a lot more limited in my fabric choices in the summer. I mean, intentionally limited in my fabric choices. And I'll talk about this as we get into kind of our lessons learned, but there are a few fabrics I really love to sew with in the summer, and I tend to stick to those. But I feel like in the fall and the winter and somewhat in the spring, there's just this huge palette of fabric you can choose from. And that's really fun too. But the more limited choices can be fun in a different way. What about you?
Yeah, I think that, really just natural fibers in the warmer weather. I'm very picky about fiber and mostly sew with cotton and linen. But I've been kind of enjoy the creative constraint of that a bit.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of fun for me. It also makes me think of when I lived in Southern California because I literally hardly ever sewed with anything other than cotton and linen and the occasional rayon when I lived there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about our lessons learned because I think that's a good segue into some of these lessons. So I'll start with my first one. I think summer is a great time to just slow down and diversify your making. We've been talking about that so far quite a bit. And I did a lot of sewing this summer, but I did make fewer clothing projects than I usually make. In a season, I usually plan out 5 or 6 different clothing projects. And this time, again, I made 3 plus a hat. And that was it. And that was fine for me. I really wanted to make some stuff for the house, like new window shades for my bedroom. I've talked about the window shades. I've talked about it here and I've talked about it on YouTube, but that my cat destroyed our window shades. So I needed to make some new ones. And I also tackled some home projects like painting and refinishing our outdoor table as well, and making some outdoor cushions and things like that. So I also feel like there's a lot of outdoor projects around the house that need attending to in the summer. So it's kind of a different form of creativity. So I think planning fewer clothing items really took the pressure off and just let me enjoy the creative process more. And it really reminded me that sewing skills transfer to so many other projects beyond garments. Sometimes I forget about that. I get so wrapped up in building my wardrobe, and I have so much fun making clothing and expressing myself that way that I forget that there are all of these other things that I can apply the same skills to, or a lot of the same skills to. And it's really fun as well in a completely different way. And again, going back to what I was saying earlier about, I think I sometimes tend to forget how important environment is to me, and creating a really beautiful environment that's conducive to either relaxation or creativity or whatever feelings that I want to invoke, and that I can apply my sewing skills to that is really empowering and really fun. So that's a big lesson for me this summer that I want to take forward into fall. Do you feel like summer changes the kinds of projects that appeal to you?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the summer, but I think I'm just always, life is so busy in the summer, the social stuff, the other hobbies that tend to take a front seat, that it's just, I focus on like what feels good and what feels like easy, not in choosing the path of like least resistance, but what feels like more of a reprieve when I sit down to sew, like the relaxation benefits of sewing rather than being focused on like the result.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Our next tip is to focus on fun, quick projects that fit your summer lifestyle. This has definitely been my MO this summer. It's so busy for me, and sewing really takes a back seat to all of my other hobbies like gardening and just like outdoorsiness in general. I've been focusing on fun things that I can do, and I've been calling them my little like sewing sprints. So simple kids' clothes. I've been having fun making some little kids' clothes, pull-on pants, accessories, mending things. I love going up to my sewing room and just setting like a 90-minute timer and making something, like, and having something in my hands by the end of that. Has been just like a fun little sewing prompt for me. When you're focusing less on sewing, it's been very satisfying for me when I am sewing to have some kind of like result. I think that keeps me going, and it keeps me wanting to come back to my sewing room. And I think that it keeps me connected to my sewing practice without the pressure of like a big, complicated kind of a project. But quick projects also mean that I can try new techniques without like a big investment, or without like the pressure of like, if it doesn't turn out well, then oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So what? An hour wasted.
Right.
Who cares? I had fun. Well, the next one I wanted to share, I mentioned a few minutes ago, which is sticking to 1 to 2 favorite summer fabrics. This is something that worked really well for me this summer, and something I want to try doing again next summer, maybe in other seasons too. So I sewed a lot with Liberty Tonalon and with linen this summer. Those were kind of my fabrics of choice over the course of the summer. And they're just two of my absolute favorite fabrics, and just made it so easy to create these wearable light pieces that I knew I was going to love when they were done, only because of the fabric choice, if nothing else. I bought some Liberty on sale during Memorial Day sales, and then I used that stash throughout the summer, and that was really cool. I love sewing with Liberty. I think it's so beautiful. The prints are so gorgeous. The colors are so beautiful, and the texture is wonderful. It's great for summer. So I just knew I would love it. And I even saved the scraps for future patchwork projects. So I was mentioning wanting to do more quilting and quilting accessories in the future. And I just think Liberty is such a great choice for that, to make really beautiful little accessories and things. Maybe I'll actually get started on those holiday gifts sometime soon, with all this beautiful Liberty scraps that I have. And it's also just so easy to throw on like a really pretty blouse in a beautiful Liberty print or any other print, and just a pair of linen shorts, and feel cool and comfortable. It's actually what I'm wearing right now.
I was going to say.
I'm wearing one of our patterns, the fern blouse in a Liberty print, and I'm wearing linen shorts. And it's going to be 90 degrees today. So
Perfect formula.
I just think having a go-to fabric palette really streamlined my decision making over the whole summer. So next summer, I'd like to continue that. I'd like to do the same thing, but maybe use another favorite fabric a bit more, which is eyelet. I really love sewing with eyelet fabric, and I think it can make even a really simple design look just really detailed and beautiful. So next year, I want to try sewing with a little bit more eyelet in the summer. And by the way, if you want to see all the projects I planned and made this summer, you can head over to YouTube and you can watch this week's video. I'm sharing everything I sewed in the summer so you can see each and every project, what I thought about it. All the details are over there. So I do a little vlog about my summer sewing, and you can see that. And then I also share my plans every season for what I'm going to be sewing in the next season. So you can kind of see the plan, and then you can see the recap at the end of the season. So that's really fun. I love sharing that with you guys.
Those are always so fun to watch.
Yeah. Do you have any fabrics that you automatically reach for in summer, Haley, like that?
I do love a cotton lawn. Like your, Tana lawn is always lovely. This summer I've been sewing with a lot more quilting cotton though, because I've been doing like cute little accessories and kids things. And it's been kind of fun every time I like go to the fabric store to like do a little detour to the quilting cotton section. And there's always so many fun prints.
Yeah, it is really fun. There's just so much cool stuff in the quilting cottons.
Yeah, I've been like focusing more on like the dopamine part of sewing. And so the fun fabrics has really like added to that for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my next tip is that summer's really the perfect time for planning and organizing, not just like your stuff, but also your ideas. So one thing that I've been doing is taking some of the downtime, like when I'm like hanging out on a picnic blanket with my kids and they're blowing bubbles, I'll work on reorganizing my Pinterest boards. You guys know I love Pinterest, but sometimes it's like gets a little overwhelming. So I've been having fun updating my core style board and making sure that it's like really the most essential stuff to my personal style. And there's something really about like the relaxed pace of summer that makes it a little bit easier to think creatively about future projects. It's like a very hopeful time of year. So I've been really enjoying working on that. And I've also been starting to collect some inspiration for fall and winter sewing while the pressure's off. I'm not planning. I'm just collecting. And it's been like a really great time kind of going back to the sewing space aspect of things while I'm going through my inspiration to think about the fabrics and the patterns that serve me or don't serve me anymore.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I've been having a lot of fun. Even, thinking about fall throughout the summer. I don't know. I find that really, really fun because it's such a different time of year, at least here in the Northwest. So it's kind of like thinking about a different world that you get to live in a little while.
I know. I was just thinking of that the other day. I thought of Halloween.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so weird that that's like around the corner.
I know.
Because it feels like a different life.
It does. Yeah. Summer is very different here from the rest of the year. Well, let's talk about the next tip, which is to think beyond summer-only pieces. So kind of speaking of fall, I realized that with my goal to have an 80% handmade wardrobe, I really need versatile pieces that are going to work for several months of the year and not just for 2 or 3 months out of the year. Here in the Northwest, summer is really short, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pack my closet with clothes that really I can only wear for that short season. Haley and I are both from Southern California, where it's warm all the time. We have the same weather pretty much year-round, almost. So it took a lot of time for me to adjust to the idea that you can't just wear the same clothes all year round.
Yeah.
Necessarily. I still sometimes struggle with that a little bit because I really love summer clothes. I really love summer prints. I love summer fabrics. And it's one of the things I really enjoy wearing, but it doesn't really make sense for my closet year round. So, for example, I made a Carrie romper in white linen this summer, and I really love it, but I can already tell that it's going to be sitting in the back of my closet until next June because a white linen short little romper is just, there's no real way for me to style that and make it look good in other seasons. I mean, I could probably make it work, but it's not going to be something I wear. I know that. Whereas the fern blouse that I'm wearing right now in the Liberty print, I can wear that all fall, and then I can wear that again in the spring. Might even be able to wear it in the winter. So that's something that is going to be a lot more versatile in my wardrobe. So that's something I want to think about a little bit more next summer. I do like having a few staples that are summer only, like shorts, but I'd like most of the pieces that I make to have more year-round appeal. And I want to consider that into my summer sewing plans next year a little bit more and kind of tone down the sewing that's purely for summer and think more about those transitional pieces.
That's so interesting because I feel like a trap that I've fallen into to counteract my Southern California roots is that in the summertime in the past, I've sewn lots of like kind of year-round basics because it felt just like a waste of my time to sew summer-specific things. And this summer, not really even intentionally, I've been making things that are purely summer because my summer dresses are just so sad. So we're on opposite sides of the pendulum.
I think
For now.
I think what I love about summer clothing is that it's so easy. You just throw on a dress or one thing and you're done. Like dresses, rompers, shorts and a t-shirt, whatever. I don't really have to think about it that much.
Yeah.
And some comfort is very, very important to me in the summer because I don't like being hot and sweaty. So I just feel really comfortable in the summer clothes that I have.
Yeah, I think for the longest time, I had all my stuff from LA still. And I was like, all of this works. It's like 80% of my wardrobe. And I only get to wear it for 2 or 3 months out of the year. But it's been 10 years. And I'm a different person. And I have a different body. And I have a different life. And so it's time.
Yeah. I've gotten much more into fall clothing. Like I love fall now. I think it's and winter, all of it. I mean,
because we didn't have it.
Yeah. It's just different. So get used to that.
All right. And then lastly, we've already kind of like hinted at this quite a bit, but using summer as a prime time for sewing space organization. Summer is also just like, it's such a good time for doing this project. When I'm not under the pressure to finish specific projects, I can really get on the hamster wheel of sewing goals throughout the year. I can really take time to set up my space for success. And that's really the goal of what I'm doing right now. I've been going through my notions, my patterns, and creating just better storage systems because, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times, and I'm fairly organized, but sewing stuff is hard to keep organized. And it's hard to find good systems for where you're like, I know I have buttons that would work for this.
Yeah.
But I can't freaking find them. And then like 3 weeks later, when the project's done, you will find them. So I'm trying to prepare things so I can avoid things like this and have like more time for that, like intensive sewing that I crave more the other times of the year. I think there's something really satisfying with starting fall with a clean, organized workspace, my fall nest, if you will, full circle moment.
Your little squirrel nest.
Yeah, I want my squirrel nest to be prepared.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just went into my sewing shed over the weekend and cleaned everything. And I still need to do a deep cleaning, but I swept everything, swept all those threads out, just straightened everything up, reorganized a whole bunch of stuff. And it feels so much better going in there once I do that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love a fresh space.
Me too. All right, so let's recap what we've learned from our summer sewing. And maybe these are lessons that you can take with you into next summer. I know that I'm going to. It'd be fun to revisit these before next summer, revisit this episode.
Yes, we can laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what I do anyway.
Didn't do that. All right. So for me, the biggest takeaway is that slowing down and being more intentional actually made my sewing a lot more enjoyable and a lot more productive. Whether that was focusing on just a couple of favorite fabrics or branching out into those home deck projects that I talked about, I just felt more connected to the creative process. And I think a lot of that has to do with just kind of going with the season and, being really mindful about the season and how I feel at this particular time of year. And I think the lesson about sewing for year-round wear is going to really shape how I plan going forward. It's all about making those creative decisions thoughtfully, which is just such a core part of what we talk about here at Seamwork. What about you, Haley? What was your biggest takeaway?
I think that my biggest takeaway, maybe it's counter to what you're saying.
That's okay.
I think it's not actually. I think that there's a season for everything. And that's like going to be based on so many factors, right? It's going to be based off of like environmental things, what else is going on in your life, your own like personal stores of energy and creativity. And I think that I feel most tapped into my creativity when I don't fight against all of those factors.
Mm-hmm.
When I take all of those things into consideration and I create a creative plan that works with whatever's going on in my life in that
Yeah.
season. In this season, I needed something looser.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if I would have created a more rigid plan, that I would have been more disappointed
Yeah.
and maybe sown less.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's my takeaway.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like it's different approaches to kind of the same philosophy.
Yeah.
I do like to do a little bit of planning, but I kept the planning sort of to a minimum in terms of how big the plan was.
Yeah.
So that way I had room to improvise and room to do other things that were on my mind. Whereas you're talking about just going with the flow a little bit more overall, which I think they're just different approaches to the same
Yeah.
realization.
And sometimes I'm like in a planning mode and I like really want to have like a fully thought out plan. But sometimes going with the flow is literally going with the flow. And sometimes the flow, it's a plan.
Yeah. True. Well, speaking of versatile pieces that work beyond just one season, we have something perfect to help you transition from summer into fall. You can get the easy elastic waist wide leg Joss pants is one of my favorite patterns. I've made it multiple times. I absolutely love this pattern and it's free right now. So each season we make one favorite pattern free to everyone on our email list. So head over to promo.seamwork.com/free-joss. I'll put a link to that in the show notes so you can find it. But again, it's promo.seamwork.com/free-joss to sign up and you'll get this pattern instantly. It's such an easy sew and it's one of those designs that really does work year round. Exactly the kind of versatile piece we were just talking about. I really love my Joss pants. I love them.
I love them too. They look good on everyone and they're so easy to tailor to your own like style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're great.
And you can make them in so many different fabrics. I absolutely love them. So you can get it for free right now. And pretty soon, I think we're going to transition to a new free pattern as well. So keep an eye out for that too. And if you liked this episode, please consider leaving us a review. We love hearing your reviews, seeing your reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you're listening right now. We would appreciate a review. You can also follow us on YouTube at Seamwork Video. And don't forget to check out my video this week with all the projects that I made over the summer. If you want to see what I actually made and what I learned from each individual project, it was a really fun season for sewing, even though there are a few fewer projects. You can also follow us on Instagram at Seamwork. And if you'd like to become part of the Seamwork community, head over to seamwork.com to learn how to join. All right, that's it for us this week. I'm Sari.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio.